everybody, I'm Dr. Bass. Welcome back to my channel where lessons lead to sound impressions. Class is now in session. So, not to sound like the famous movie franchise, but there is more to the bow than meets the eye. Now, there are so many non-moving parts that string instrumentalists tend to take this for granted, and they just think that it'll just work. Now, if you are a string player, I'm sure you've come across various circumstances ranging from basic maintenance, like getting your hair replaced, maybe a polishing. Maybe you've gotten your thumb wrap and lapping replaced or re-glued, all the way up to more costly repairs like a tip replacement, maybe fixing a broken frog, maybe unfortunately a screw or adjustment failure, all the way up even further to more severe cases like a broken stick, which in a lot of cases, if not other cases, could be considered a totaling of the bow. So before we get down to some playing accompanied by some review of some bow technique from episode 3, I like to go over the anatomy of the bow. Now, most string instrumentalists know the basics, like the tip, the stick, the hair, wrapping, frog, screw or adjuster or button. But I like to take you on a more detailed, deeper tour of this truly amazing and sophisticated piece of hardware. Now, like a computer, things have to be updated, repaired, and replaced on the bow. So let's start our tour of this amazing instrument, shall we? Okay, here we go. There you are. All right, so let's go over the anatomy of the bow. Now, I'm going to start with the tip of the bow, and I'm going to go to the frog, and then have some fun facts for you, along with how I take care of my bow. Okay? Now I have 2 big lists here with a lot of names, but we'll get through them because I want to get down to some playing. All right? So here we go. Alrighty. So over here, this is the whole head of the bow. Whole head. This is they call the head. Now, this part here, this white part, this is the head plate or tip plate. And this can be made out of any number of material like ivory, metal, things like that. Okay. Now where the hair goes in, you can't see it, but you can see it, maybe a tiny bit of it. But the hair has to go into the head of the bow. That's called the hair mortise. Okay. And I'm going to go over some of these terms so that we're not totally lost. All right. So now the head, which all of this is, okay, That encompasses something called the comma, which is here, the throat, which is here. It's also something called the chamfer. It's the beveled part of the bow. Okay, this part over here. Now, I hope you can see this, but there's a black thin line here. A black thin line between the actual wood of the stick and the head plate. It's black. That's called the ebony liner. Okay, the ebony liner. Obviously, this is the tip. And now, don't laugh, but the bow has some of the same anatomical parts that the human body does. Okay, so this part here is called the nose. Okay, this part here is the front ridge. Okay, the front ridge. This part here is the peak. Now, we have this side here, this whole surface over here, and this surface over here. Okay? Those two parts of the head, interestingly enough, are called the cheek. Okay, those are the cheeks of the bow. Okay, so let me see if there's anything else. Oh, yes, of course. So inside of the head of the bow, which most people call the tip, there is a head block, and that block is used for the hair to be wrapped around so it stays. Okay, we don't see it as string instrumentalists. We don't want to see it. We don't want to see that. That's for the rehairer. So the rehairer takes that block out, they wrap the hair around it, and then they put that right back in. Okay, so now we're going to travel to the frog of the bow. So obviously we have the stick. Okay, we have the stick of the bow, and we have the actual horse hair. Okay, so now let me get my other list. And now it's where a lot of names come into play. Alrighty, so let's see if we can do this really quickly. Okay, so we have the padding, we have the lapping or the wrapping. Okay, certain parts of the bow have more than one name for it. Here we have the screw on the upper instrumentalists, the upper strings, and I believe including the cello, and actually the French bow of the double bass. It's actually shorter than this, and they would call it the screw. Okay. Now we have, after that, we would also, I guess, call this the button as well. There's so many names and so many different parts that have, like I said before, the same name. Okay, but this part on the upper strings, like the violin, viola, and cellos, this would be called the button because it's small. Okay, or also forgot this. They also call this the adjuster. Okay, alrighty. So let's go to this part of the bow. So we have the mother of pearl slide, And underneath that, we have the mother of pearl liner. Now we can't see that. Okay, we can't see that, but it's there. After that, well, we have the throat. See, I did say that the bow shares certain names with the human body. So this is the throat. Okay. Now we also have something called let's see, the tongue. Okay, so let me see if I can try to get this correct. This black part here. Now you have the white part that's closest to the hair. If I can get that closer. Now you have a black part that's kind of looks like a half circle over here. That's called the tongue, or certain people call it the block. Okay. Now the next up is something that this bow doesn't have, and that is the Parisian eye. Okay. This here. It's for decoration purposes. Okay. So, moving on, we have the thumb piece, or the leather I was talking about before. And now we get to disassemble this a little bit. Okay? But not too much. So we're going to take this out. Now we have something here, this part here, with the hole in it. That's called the eyelet. And that eyelet is attached to a screw. And that screw is called a shank. And I'm not going to take that out. It's one piece of metal. Because once you start taking that out, you start to adjust the curvature of the bow and how loosely or how tightly the bow is tightened. You start to mess with the curve. So we're not going to do that. Okay. What else? We have the slide. Okay. So this metal part here, this long metal part here, okay, that's called the slide. And underneath that slide is called the frog seating. Okay. Now, I want to talk about something else. I'm going to go back to this part of the bow here, where the hair, that's white part. We call this the tongue over here, but that white part that's right underneath that part that looks like a half circle. Okay. That's called the wedge spread. And without that, the hair would be an absolute mess. It would be, it would probably be in a ball or something like that. So that wedge is there to spread the hair so that it looks like a ribbon. Okay. So going on, we have something called a frog plug. Now we can't see that. That's actually inside of the main frog, okay? That's something that when the rehairer takes this part off, this metal part, which is called the ferrule, okay? It's called the ferrule. That part comes off. He or she gives us a new wedge spread, okay? He or she ties the knot around a piece of wood that's actually in the frog, which makes the hair tight and taut. Okay. What else? And of course, there's the knot. And not to mention, there is something called a frog mortis. Okay, a frog mortis, and that's just simply another access to something for something else to be useful. Okay, I'm gonna go over all that too because there are other names here that I want you to go over. Okay, so now that we have that, now we have this part of the bow. So I can do this with two hands. Okay, this part of the bow, this hollowed out area, okay, that is called the inner bore. Okay, and now this part here is the outer bore. Okay, so now we have mortises, we have bores. Okay, they all have something in common. Okay, and I think that's it as far as that's concerned. I'm trying to keep track here. And now this goes over here. I'll put that over there. Now let's talk about this part. Okay, now many of us know this as the screw, the whole screw attachment. Okay, but this too has parts. So we have the shaft, okay, the whole shaft. We have the screw head, this part, okay? It's the screw head. Now we have something in the actual screw, okay? Now on another instrument, on the other bows, like the violin, viola, and cello, this would be called a button. And especially also on the French bow of the double bass, since it's shorter, called a button. But inside of this button or screw, okay, or adjuster, okay, we can't see that part of the staff, okay, or the shaft, actually. That part that's actually in here that we don't see, that's called the tang, okay? Now, what else? What else? I'm hoping that I'm not leaving out anything. Okay. That's it as far as this is concerned. Now let's put this back together. Now there are other parts of the bow that the German bow just doesn't have. Okay, most German bows just don't have them. Okay, and I'm going to let you know about those. Okay, now once again, more human parts are shared by the bow. Okay, so we have pins, and those pins normally go into the button or the adjuster. Okay, we have ebony rings, which my bows do not have. Okay, mother of pearl. Now the mother of pearl normally is over here for decorative purposes. Okay. What else? Now we have something called the nipple and the nipple recess. Now those are, once again, these bows don't have them. And now we have a new word, a recess. Okay, the recess is similar to that of the bore, which is similar to that of the mortise. They're simply entrances into something that allows something else from outside to do its job. Okay, so like I said, mortise, recess, and bores. They're basically the same thing. Okay. Now, also another thing that, again, my bows don't have, German bows don't have this, largely. If it were here, this would be the large heel and its support. This bow, again, doesn't have it, and my other bow doesn't have it either, but it would be a small heel plate and its support. But it doesn't, but like I said, these bows don't have them. And obviously, this is the back plate or the back surface of the frog. Okay? So I hope, it's a lot. I hope I got everything. And now it's time to get down to some playing. So let's switch gears a little bit, shall we? Hey, so we're back again. All right, so as promised, I did say that I had some interesting fun facts about the bow, and I'm going to share a little bit about how I personally take care of my equipment. Okay, so the fun facts about the bow is that most of what the bow is made up of is living creatures and living things on our planet. Okay, let me explain. Okay, so we have basically 6 things. So we have Pernambuco, which is a wood from South America. Most bows are made out of this. We have the ebony. Okay, this wood is from India, from a hardwood tree, India, Sri Lanka, Africa, Indonesia. Okay, that's where this tree grows. Leather, well, we all know where leather is from. It's from the skin of an animal. Also, we have the horse hair. So I gave the answer away with that, okay? But an interesting fun fact about that. So most of our horse hair, if not all of it, comes from horses that are raised in cold climates. Why? Because the hair that they produce is much stronger. Okay, it has to keep these horses warm, so their bodies produce stronger, coarser hair. So that's where our hair comes from. Okay. So also we have the tip. Okay, and this is from this is ivory, which is from the tusks or teeth of animals. Okay, and lastly, we have the mother of pearl. Okay, decorative part of the bow, and that is from sea creatures like oysters, mussels, and abalone. Okay, all these shelled sea creatures. Okay, now how do I take care of my bow? Okay, so if you watch episode 1, care and maintenance, you'll see how I do it, but I'll review one more time. So what I do is I try to wash my hands before I touch my equipment. Okay, wash my hands. I try to get rehairs about every 4 to 6 weeks for optimum performance and sound. I'll also have the stick of my bow polished. Okay, and you know, there might be some other things, but I think those are the main things that that can keep the health of your bow in tip-top shape. Okay, so now on to some playing. Finally, it's been a long time. All right, so I want to review a few things from episode 3, sound production. Okay, because this is going to play a major factor in how we're going to be bowing and going along our scales. Okay, and I've picked 5 scales, and I'll tell you which ones they are very soon. But I want to go over sound production, whereas we're using the fingers, flexible fingers, okay, very flexible fingers, okay, and also, I don't want to ruin this beautiful sleeve, but I guess I'm going to have to a little bit. You want to have the natural bend of the arm, okay? Nothing like this and nothing like this. You want to have the natural bend of the arm, okay? And notice that my shoulders are down, okay? My shoulders are down. You want to play with relaxed shoulders, okay? So just as a review, once again, you're placing the bow on the string and you're grabbing the string. You're not making a sound, okay? You're not making a sound. You're just using the fingers, small muscle task, okay? You're using the fingers to move the string, as you can see the string moving. Now, I know I said in the last episode, episode 3, that we want that nice big pop, okay? So we have the string, we grab the string, okay, we have that. Going back, and I'm using the thumb, okay, to apply pressure to the bow. Once I have that pressure, and I'm confident, bang. Now the thing is, we want to dial that back a little bit. We don't need big sound all the time, okay? We want to perhaps maybe like this. And from the tip, that's all you need, okay? And you're gonna do that with all 4 strings. But we're gonna do that with the scales and arpeggios. And I wanna try to see if we can link our bowing from up bows to down bows and back again, okay? So the 5 scales that I chose to do today will be E natural minor, F major, G natural minor, okay, A natural minor, and B flat major. Why? Okay. So I picked those 5 scales because you don't have to shift. And all those 5 scales are in half position. Okay, so I just want to go over half position. Okay, they don't shift yet. We're not shifting yet. Not yet. Okay, so I want to get a nice playing position with my fingers. I want to feel it out for the nut. And here we go. And with these scales, I suggest that you use a drone, okay? You can download this from the internet. It's a great way to get your pitch ready, okay? But you also want to have good spacing too. Notice how wide my fingers are in first position, which is the lowest position before you start playing open strings. As we get higher and higher and closer to the bridge, our fingers get closer because the half steps get closer. But notice the spread of my fingers, okay? Also, I want you to notice when I'm on the lower string, how I pivot the instrument over here like this. But when I'm on the higher string, the G string, okay, how the instrument is pivoted this way. Because I never want to chase the instrument. I want the instrument to come to me, okay? So let's start with the E natural minor scale with a drone. you're looking to avoid beats that might sound out of tune. Notice that my fingers stay here for reference. And now they leave the E string. My fingers stay here until I hit E natural. Or you can leave your fingers there. Okay? You can leave your fingers there. Now notice what my fourth finger did. I'm already on the E string. I'm already there for reference. Okay? So, while that's going on, you also want to make sure that you tune your instrument. Okay? Tune your instrument before every time you play. So just a little bit of review of that. You see what my fingers are doing. My fingers were anticipating going to the next string or staying on the previous string for reference. They stay there. They stay there. Now they're done. Staying there. And that cut off, but that's okay. My fingers are still there for C natural. When my fourth finger is finished with C natural, now I go to G. I'm already there. Okay? So that's what you want to do. Now that just encompasses everything. Nice straight arm. You want your bow to be straight. You want relaxed fingers. Okay? Let's try that one more time with the E. And notice my wrist. Okay? Grab the string. Grab the string. Grab the string. My fingers didn't move for reference. Now I'm done with C natural. My fourth finger is going to go to G natural. Now let's stop this for a second. So we're killing many birds with one stone, okay? We have the sound production, we have grabbing the string, we have the listening, okay? We have the pivoting of the instrument. So when we're over here on the low string, the instrument is like this. When we go towards the G string, the instrument is like this, okay? And you have the fingering. I gave you the fingering for E natural minor. Open, 2, 4, open, 2, 4, open, 2, open, and my fourth finger's already there. 4, 2, and then finish it off. Okay? Let's go to F major with a drone. It's going to be the same thing that we did with E minor. The first finger. Fourth finger. Open string. Same thing. Now, what I like to do is teach preparation. Referencing. I'm already ahead. On C natural. Now my fourth finger's on G natural. Okay? Same thing. And I gave you the fingerings for that too. 1, 4. Open. 1, 4, open, 2, 4, and then go back down, 2, open, 4, 1, open, 4, and then 1 to finish it off. Okay? Now, next scale, G natural minor. G natural minor. Grab the string. My fourth finger stays. Now my fourth finger goes to the A string for C natural. Fourth finger goes to G natural on the E string. Reference, intonation. So you have that fingering. 4, open. 1, 4, open. 1, 4, open. 4, 1, open. 4, 1, open. 4, there. That's okay. Now, for our next one, we have A natural minor. A natural minor. All in half position. So you have the fingering. Open. 2, 4. Open. 2, 4. Open. 2. Fourth finger is still on F natural. Ready to go. Fourth finger is already on C natural, ready to go. Okay? So the fingering once again. Grab a string. 2, 4. Open. 2, 4. Open. And then you go back down. Preparation. Okay, so we still have the nice straight arm. We have the wrist. We have the dedicated start to each note, okay? And we're practicing the full scales that can be accomplished in half position. Let's go to B flat, okay? B flat major. Already. E flat, first finger. Fourth finger is already on C natural. Fourth finger. So it looks like this. So those are the 5 scales that we can completely do in half position. Now, the next time we go over scales, we can go over the scales that are in first position. But then I'll show you how to shift. Okay? So, I hope you learned something today. We learned a lot of different things. We learned about the anatomy of the bow. Okay, all the parts of the bow. We learned that the bow is mainly made up of things that were alive. Okay? We did some review. Okay, we did some review from episode 3 about the arm, flexible fingers, sound production, shoulders down, straight wrist over here, okay? And we learned our first position, which is our half position, okay? And we learned 5 scales, okay? So, I hope you've learned a lot, like I said before. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, and please hit that notification. Okay? So I hope you've gotten my gist. Class is now dismissed.